recording. All right, here we go. Exercise 1A is going to be a nice entry into Year 8 topic, and it's really just adding and subtracting numbers. Part of it is just to get you warmed up for the year, but it's also for me to know which skills or what areas what kind of students I'm working with as well. Okay, so here we go. The first question, or the first box, there are two key things to know the difference. There's a question that asks you to do it mentally. Okay, so it means to do it in your head without a sort of a specific algorithm or calculator or pen or paper. And the other one is called estimating your answer. So when they ask the questions, read what they're actually asking, because there's two different ways to approaching the answer. Let's have a look at the first one. It says evaluate, which means they want you to know, give me a number. So evaluate means give me a number. This difference means subtraction, and the numbers mentally. So if I want to look at this, 263 minus 59, and I want to do it in my head, there are many strategies here. And there's a lot of strategies. Some of you might do it a different way. It doesn't matter. The whole point is how you're going to write it down so that I know that that's what you're thinking. So you could be doing it like this. This is one strategy. Method one, you could use the algorithm you learned in primary school, which is 263 minus 59, and you make sure you keep them all in their units and their tens and the hundreds column, and you subtract. That's method one. What's another method? Anyone think of another way? How would you do this if you didn't have a calculator, pen or paper? You're going shopping. You don't have a pen or paper. You don't have a calculator, or unless you take out your phone. Let's say you left your phone with your mum and you don't have your phone with you, and you got $263 in your pocket, and you saw a nice t-shirt you wanted to buy for $59. You want to think, well, how much of a change am I going to get? You had to do this quickly in your head, or had to work it out in your head. What would you do? Has anyone got a strategy? There's a couple of strategies. The other class gave me 3, even though technically it's the same technique, but they approached it 3 different ways. Anyone got an idea? How would you do 263 minus 59? Hands up if you would have done it mentally in your head with method 1. Okay, good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, good. So majority of you would have done this, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, sometimes for some of us, doing those numbers in our heads might be a bit harder, but that is one strategy. Here's another one, just in case I think I heard someone whisper it. Maybe they were a bit shy, but I'll tell you. You see, the problem is that 5,9 and that 6,3. If I had given you 260 and then the number 60, this makes it easier. 260 minus 60, what does that give you? 200. See, we can do that very quickly. So one of the nice things is we like to work in tens. That's just natural. I don't like the 5,9. I don't like the 6,3. But what I could do is I could do this. Instead of 5,9, why don't I make it 60? I make it a bit bigger, add an extra 1 to it. If I add an extra 1 to it, what's 263 minus 60? 203, because you got $63, and then if you take away 60, well, there's $3 left, so it's 203. That was pretty easy, right? But remember, what did I do? I subtracted more than I needed to. I don't need to subtract 59, but instead I subtracted 60. So I subtracted too much. So if I subtracted too much, I need to add back that extra 1 that I had increased. True? Because instead of subtracting 59, I decided, let's do more. Let's subtract 60. But it's like, why am I subtracting 60? I should have an extra $1 left over. So here at the end, plus 1 is 204. That's a mental strategy, but there's a lot of different ways. Like another student did it by doing, instead of 263, they changed that to 260, so they reduced it. They said, what if the t-shirt was not 263? They said, let's make it easier. Let's say the price was only 260. And then say in their pocket, they didn't have, in their pocket they had 260, and then let's say the price of the t-shirt was actually $60, so they did that way. And it still works. Doesn't matter how, but you have to do a bit of logical thinking. Or method 1. So method 2 has many different answers. I don't care which way you did it, but I need to see what your thinking was. So you can see my thinking. So I rounded 59 to 60, but because I subtracted too much, obviously I have to get my $1 back. Right? Because I said, take an extra $1. Like, wait a minute, I want that extra $1 back. So I took the $1 back. add an extra dollar back to my pocket. Okay, so that's one way. That's what they mean by mentally. So when you're doing these questions, what they're really trying to see is, do you have many different ways, or have you only learnt method one? Okay, and that's fine too. There's nothing wrong. Maths is meant to be flexible. Okay. All right, what about estimate? Example 2. Let's have a look at example 2. When they say estimate, what does that mean? Guessing. It doesn't have to be accurate. It doesn't have to be exactly 204 to be correct. You can guess this answer. Now, if you're guessing this answer, that means you guys will have slightly different answers, and it's okay from the book. So if you check the answers in the book and it's slightly off, it's okay, right? So what would you round it off to? Instead of 79, it says, by first rounding to the nearest 10. So 79 is closest to what nearest 10? 80, very good. So we would change this 79 to 80. When they say nearest 10, for those who don't understand what that means, you just count in tens. So if you count in tens, you've got 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And so 79, is it closest to 70 or is it closest to 80? That's what they mean when they say to the nearest 10. You're just counting in tens. Okay, so clearly 79 is closer to 80. So I'm rounding 79 to 80. What about 32? 32 is closest to what? Yeah, 30. So you change that to 30, and that is so much easier to add. What is 80 plus 30? Just take off the zeros and say 8 plus 3. What's 80 plus 30 equal to? Hands up if you know. Yes. 110. Very good. Sorry, what was your name? Zara. Thank you, Zara. 110. And that's fine. Okay, so that's an estimate. That's an estimate of an answer. It's not accurate. And that's what we generally do. When I go shopping, I don't do exactly 204 unless I'm very specific that I need every dollar. I might just do an estimate and I'll go, oh yeah, it's about $200 left over. So you do an estimate or you do a mental calculation. Cool? All right, next one. Now there is a mistake on your printing. Can you please fix this part here? In your next example, can you take this plus sign and just cross it off and do a subtraction sign? Okay, it should be 141 take away 96. All right, here we go. Let's answer this question now. Let's see. How do we do the algorithm? So back in primary school, we would have learned how to add multiple digit numbers. So 518 plus 395. What do we do? Hands up. What's the first step? What's the first step? Yes. 8 plus 5. Very good. 8 plus 5, which equals what can I please have? Let's go with Willem. Who's Willem? Willem. What's 8 plus 5? 13. Good. Now, 13. This is the units column. So units column, what number do I write down? Can I please have? Let's go with the next person. Charlie. 3. Yes, because that's the units. The next one's your tens. This is why we write 3. And that 13 is actually the same thing as writing 10 plus 3. And we know 10 units is equivalent to 1 tenth. That's why we carry the 1. That's the reason why you carry the extra 1, because you're like, well, the 3 units column, I've got 3 of them, but where does that 10 go? Well, I can convert that to tens. There's only 1 of them. So that's why you add an extra 1 here. So 1 10 plus another 1 10 plus another 9 tens. What's 1 10 plus 1 10 plus 9 tens equal to? Can I please have? Let's go with, who's the next person? Charlotte. Yep, that's good. 110, very good. So when you say 1 plus 1 plus 9, I know a lot of students will say 11, but remember, that's not 11 units. It's actually 11 tens. And like what Charlotte was saying, 11 tens is equivalent to 110 units. This is why the 0 is in the units, the 1 goes here, so that's why you write the 11. And why do you carry the extra 1 to the next column? Is because that's in the hundreds column. That's the reasoning why we do that. So here, that's not just 1, that's actually 100. That's not a 5, that's actually 500. That's not a 3, that's actually 300. So what you're saying is, what's 100 plus 500 plus 300? And that's why it goes into the hundreds column. So 1 plus 5 plus 3, what does that give me? Let's go with Ollie. Do I have Ollie? Who's Ollie? Ollie. 1 plus 5 plus 3. What does that give me? 9. Very good. And that's actually 900. Hence why it's 913. And so that logic of what we did here, that same algorithm can be used over here. Okay, so I'm going to split this up so that you understand why the algorithm works. Sometimes we just learn things for the sake of learning it, but we don't know why it works. See, 141, you can actually write that as 100 plus a 40 plus 1 unit. And this is why it works. So you know when you do subtraction, what's the problem with 1 take away 6? What's the problem? It's too small, right? Especially when you were in primary school, you only learned positive numbers. You have 1 apple, how can you subtract 6 apples? It doesn't make sense, right? So what we had to do, we had to come up with a system. Well, this is what they did. If 1 can't take away 6, what they said is, well, you got these 40 tens here, or 4 tens, or 40 units. If I'm going to take from the tens column, remember the tens column goes in groups of 10. So if I take 1 and I put it across, it's not 1, it's 10 units. That's why back then they taught you, they said, cross off, borrow from the next column, becomes 3. And what they're really saying is this now becomes 30 and borrow the extra 10 to put over here. That's why that works. Okay, that's why you carry the 1 across. Why does it become 11? It's because you had 1 unit, we extra 10 units over here. That's why it's 11 units. Take away 6 was possible. That's the reasoning to why it works. So 11 take away 6, let's go. 11 take away 6, can I please have, let's go with Xavier. What's 11 take away 6? 5, very good. We've now got 5 here. And then we go to the next column, our tens column. That's 30 take away 90. 30 take away 9 is too small. So what do I do in this next step? Let's go with next person, Nikki. What do I do? 3 take away 9. We can't do it. 3 is too small. So what do? Beautiful. And again, the 30 is too small. So what we do is we take it from this hundreds. And remember, that's groups of hundreds. That's why we take the entire hundreds across. So we say, all right, take this 100, put over here. That's why we carry the 1. And that becomes 13 tens, which is equivalent to 130. This becomes 0. So you cross that one off. 130 take away 90. What's 130 take away 90? Or 13 take away 9? What is that equal to? Can I please have Attila? 13 take away 9. Now take your time. 4, very good. And that's why we end up with 45. Does that make more sense now as to why the algorithm works? So part of the maths that I teach to you guys, when I have time, I do like to explain why it happens rather than you just learning it like robots. Because if you understand, it means you can be flexible. You can do things that I taught you in method 2 before. You can only do method 2 if you understand how numbers work. You can break it up. Okay, otherwise you stick to an algorithm. All right, and your last one. This is a problem-solving question. So if you want it to be in the good to very good section for your checkpoints, these are the kind of questions that you'll start working with. So let's have a look at this problem here. Example 4, find the missing digits. Now let's have a think. I'm adding, so something plus 4 ends up with a 1. Now you think about it, something plus 4. Now let's pick a number randomly. If I picked 4, what's 4 plus 4 equal to? 8. Doesn't have the 1. What about if I increased it? 5 plus 4? 9. But then if I do 6 plus 4, it's 10. I still don't have that 1. Where's the 1 going to come from? 7. Because 7 plus 4 gives me 11. There's my first unit. That's the logic. Because you could have started off 0 plus 4 is 4. 1 plus 4 is 5. 6, 7. The pattern is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The only way to get a 1 is it had to be a 7. So logically, 7 had to go here. Now, if you know that's a 7, 7 plus 4, which is 11, 1 unit, 110. Let's work it out. 1 plus 3 plus 9. What does that equal to? Let's go with Mateo. Take your time. 1 plus 3. 13 is correct. So we write down to 3 and we carry the 1 because it's 13 tens. 13 tens is 130. That's why you have the extra 1. Now you got up to this step. 1 plus 2 gives you 3, but you need a 6. So what number should go there to make it a 6? If 1 plus 2 is 3, very good. Now that wasn't hard. That wasn't hard. You guys could do it, but most students will skip that question. So that's about question 5, 6, 7. That's problem solving. If you take your time, you can do it. Don't skip just because you think it's scary. Challenge yourself. I'm showing you that it is possible. Okay, so if you put in time and effort, you can. Most students should be sitting at good and very good. And then